You are now tuned in to Power Podcasts, the Empower Hour. Peace and blessings, beautiful souls. I am Brandi L. Bates, author of Moonshine for the Soul, The Art of Grind, and many other books. I'll be your host for tonight. You can find me on Twitter at Soledad Francis and on Instagram at Brandi is winning, Brandi with an I. Most of these podcasts can be found archived on YouTube, hashtag Power Podcasts. But please listen to them while they still have all of their spirit, vitality, and juices by subscribing to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and of course, brandibates.podomatic.com. Today we're talking about the Renegade theory of everything. You gotta be renegade in your thoughts, in your thought world, and in your actions, in your intentions, in your mindset, in your frame of mind, the way you make moves. Beyond work and love, I would add two other ingredients that give meaning to life. Beyond work, your substance, and love, the emotional galaxy of your life. First, to fulfill whatever talents we are born with. However blessed we are by fate, with different abilities and skills and strengths and capacity, each of us should try to develop to the fullest rather than allow our abilities and our strengths and our talents to atrophy and decay. Because that's what happens when you don't use your talents. They atrophy and they decay. We all know individuals who didn't fulfill the promise they showed in childhood. You know, the kid who was the promising NBA star, NFL athlete, or, you know, the girl who was just, you knew she was going to make it to Hollywood. You knew she was going to be this famous actress, whatever, etc., 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 right? Many of these people became haunted by the image of what they might have become. And so instead of blaming fate, I think we should accept ourselves as we are, flaws and all. If you short, own it. If you have a certain skin complexion, own it. A certain texture of hair, own it. What you know how to do, what you're good at, and what you don't know how to do, what you suck at, own it. You have to face it. You have to address it. You have to accept it before you can do anything else with it. We should accept ourselves as we are and try to fulfill whatever dreams are within our capability. There's so much shit that you can control. And there are a lot of things that no matter what you do, you just have no power over. Krishnamurti once said the whole of life, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, is a process of learning. Sivananda said, put your heart, your mind, and your soul into even your smallest acts. This is the secret of success. Where am I going with this? Dean Radin, he's the author of a book entitled Real Magic. We're going to talk about some magic for a moment. Real Magic, Unlocking Your Natural Psychic Abilities to Create Everyday Miracles. He reminds us that reality viewed through the lens of science is an exceedingly thin slice of the whole shebang. Science is tightly focused on the objective, measurable, physical world. That focus excludes the one and only thing you can ever know for sure: your consciousness. It's imperative, if you take nothing else from this talk, it's imperative not to invest energy or time in anything that makes the horizon of your future disappear. I'll say that again in case you missed it. It's imperative not to invest energy or time in anything that makes the horizon of your future disappear. So if it's not benefiting you, growing you, strengthening you, empowering you, making you wiser, get more money, stronger, healthier, you don't have time for it. You really don't have time for it. Muji tells us that the evolution of consciousness is from person to present, person to present, person to present, person to presence. Stay with me. We've learned more about the brain in the past 15 years than in all prior human history. We're talking about hundreds and decades and decades and decades and decades, thousands of years. Dare I even say millions of years. And it's kind of like technology. 30 years ago, we couldn't conceive of a Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or, WhatsApp or Uber or Airbnb. But yet from 2007, 2008 up to 2018, 2019, so much technology has enabled us to see further than we've ever seen and study deeper and further into the recesses of history than we've ever been able to do. Not that technology hasn't always existed. We just didn't have the awareness and the consciousness to tap into it, right? You follow me? So we've learned more about the brain, how it works, how it operates, the mind, brain science, good science, in the last 15 years than in all prior human history. And the mind, which was once considered out of reach, is finally assuming center stage. There are multiple layers to your mind. The mind is like an onion. It's like a browser. And if you're not careful, you can go deep down the rabbit hole. Or you can control that. You can control where you go in the mind. And taste that expanse of non-duality. See, society operates on duality. There always has to be a other, right? The Republicans and the Democrats, the Bloods and the Crips, us against them, right? Predator and prey, yin and yang, the winners and the losers, home and away, right? The mind doesn't operate like that. The capacity of the mind is as great as that of space. I mean, when you think of outer space, you think of some sci-fi movies. Whenever they show the images of outer space or the multiverse, the universe, right? The Milky Way galaxy, and it's dark and it's deep and there's no end to it. There's no bottom to it. This is the way the mind. This is the capacity of your mind. I say that to say that there is not anything that you cannot think into existence and create from the mind's eye, from your dream world, and bring it into your waking reality. Pull it from another dimension, pull it from another form of consciousness, and pull it into this reality. Because I'm tired of seeing us living on the bottom, and I'm tired of seeing people losing, and I'm tired of seeing people sick, and I'm tired of seeing people struggling, and I'm sick and tired of seeing people get beat down. Everything that has ever happened to you and everything that will happen to you emerges from the interstitial space shimmering between mind and matter. That's where magic is created, if you know what you're doing, and where all the magic happens. Real magic. The mind is not a thing, but an event. Let's start there. And so what we understand to be phenomena are actually the magical projections of the mind. Stay with me. So first of all, we know that magic is still intensely present. Whether you're dealing with, Enochian magic, you're dealing with magic of the ancestors, magic coming out of West Africa, dealing with the Vodun, dealing with the occult. There are different types of forms of magic. Prayer is a form of intentional magic, a mental act, right? Intended to affect the world in some way. So, wearing a sacred symbol is a form of sympathetic magic, a symbolic correspondence said to transcend time and space. Many religious rituals are forms of ancient ceremonial magic, right? The abundance of pop culture, popular books on the power of affirmations, the law of attraction, right? The Secret, the 3 magic words, positive thinking, are all based on an age-old, ancient, archaic, magical set of principles. These things aren't new. In Buddhism, the Akasha is space. Both space bounded by the material world, 3-dimensional, length, width, depth, your flesh, your blood, your clothes, your hair, your breath. And then a form of space which is infinite and undefinable, which contains the material world. Now we getting on as above, so below. And so a slight shift in perspective changes everything. Where am I going with this? It's been said by the year 2100, we're in 2018, 2019, or whenever you're listening to this. But it's been said that by 2100, our destiny is to become like the gods we once worshipped, right? Neptune and Zeus and Osset, Osiris, Sekhmet, right? The Dogon. But our tools will not be magic wands and potions, but the science of computers, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and most of all, the quantum theory. I'm really interested in the quantum theory, and you should be too. And here's why. Because different versions of us exist in other worlds. I'll say that again in case you missed it. Different versions of us exist in other worlds. Stay with me. I'm about to tie it together and show you what I'm talking about. So once you understand that we are truly living in a simulated reality and existence, folks, this will begin to make much more sense to you so that, you can really begin to win. I mean, win in just about every single aspect of your life and your world. Whether you want to manifest money, wealth, power, health. You want to manifest that banging ass body. You want to manifest that mansion. Whether you just want peace of mind. Because some of us, you've had money. You've been exposed to wealth. You've been exposed to means and leisure. And you've gone to the best schools. And you've always been surrounded by, fancy, shiny, glimmering things. But you just, you want peace of mind. You want to be, some people, they want to travel and see the world. Whatever your thing is, okay, in order to understand all that you're capable of, you have to understand exactly what and who you are. You are electric. Your brain is a super continent, only partially charted. Okay? Energy is information, and information is energy. That's why I think it's ironic that we are living in the so-called, quote unquote, information age. Reality is pixelated. That's why when you're under the influence of altered states of consciousness, oftentimes you will see things in fractals. That goes back to pi, the golden mean, the Fibonacci, binary code, sewed and bound up in every carbon-based living organism on this planet. Okay? I would like to talk about our ability to send the mind to other worlds. And I'm not talking about some fictional shit. I'm not talking about Marvel. I want to talk about our ability to send the mind to the future. Understand that the CIA, the FBI, NSA, the Nazis, the Russians, and don't get shocked when I say Nazis, because the Nazis are running shit, whether you know it or not. But that's for another talk. But the ability to send the mind to the past, to other dimensions, to pull things from one state of consciousness to another. Understand that this is real. This is real talk. This is really happening. Things that you see in these movies, they're really doing it. This is a very real ability, which most people have never even heard of, not to mention learn to do. This can be done. It can be done using entheogens. Entheogens, sacred plants, visionary plants. And I'm not just talking about cannabis. Cannabis is good, but there are thousands more. And all y'all know about is weed. Thousands all over the planet. An entheogen is basically, an entheogen is a class of psychoactive substances. Out of all the millions of species of plants and fungi and trees and flowers and herbs and roots, there are certain ones that contain these psychoactive substances, and they can induce a spiritual experience depending on how you're using it, aimed at development. And that's what I would like to talk to. That's what I would like to speak to. That's what I'm interested in. Because I recently had an experience with psilocybin myself. But examples of this also include acacia. When you talk about the acacia plant in the Bible, the ancients, the ancestors worked with acacia. The African dream root, Salvia divinorum, right? Ayahuasca. A lot of us know about ayahuasca, especially in the West. Peyote or mescaline. Psilocybe cubensis, fly agaric or the Amanita muscaria. This is where we get Santa Claus from. This is where we get the reindeer from. The Siberian shaman worked with the Amanita muscaria, the red mushroom with the white polka dots on it that you see in Super Mario Brothers. You got to get the mochis, right? The blue lotus or blue water lily of Kemet, the Egyptian blue water lily or blue lotus. Why do you see this so prevalent on the walls of the hieroglyphics of the ancient Egyptians? Certain wealthy and powerful pharaohs were buried with these blue lotuses within their tombs, mummified with them. There's a reason for that. The Bolivian torch cactus, the Egyptian blue lotus, and Peruvian torch cactus, Hawaiian baby wood rose, iboga and ibogaine, right, out of West Africa. Dr. Sebi, for those of you who are familiar with Dr. Sebi, who cured HIV and AIDS and cancer and you name it, he used to work with iboga a lot. Iboga cures all forms of addictions, from alcoholism to tobacco addiction to heroin and anything in the opioid family. If you don't believe me, Google it, do the research, study up on it. Don't take my word for shit. Look everything up. Do your diligence, right? And the morning glory. These are just a few. And so we're talking about the stuff that Hollywood blockbusters allude to, right? The heart-shaped herb in the Black Panther, the Tree of Souls in the movie Avatar. All of these are based on real live entheogens. Shaolin, when you hear about the Shaolin monks, right? The art of war. Shaolin literally means young forest, and it refers to the fact that the original Shaolin temple in Honan province was built in the midst of a new forest of cypress and pine. That's where they get it from. And so understand that many of these entheogens are actually off-world hyperorganic technology. Stay with me. These entheogens are teleportation devices, a type of tesseract. Psilocybin, a lot like DMT, it masquerades as a substance. They masquerade as substances or so-called drugs. They're not drugs at all, folks. They're actually living hyperdimensional entities. And so when you consume them the same way you're consuming the culture that is imposed upon you, they enable you to cross the blood-brain barrier of the multiverses. They enable you to lift the veil and see the mysteries. It enables you to download things. Understand, in the next couple of years, you're going to be able to upload and download your consciousness onto the servers. Okay? These entheogens, they enable you to download ideas and concepts from the hyperdimension. And so that's how you pull shit from other dimensions and other realities and states of consciousness into your reality to benefit you, to help you and yours. That's why when you consume them, they enable you to move the mind to other dimensions and consciousnesses. Psilocybin, again, the magic mushrooms, they contain the very Akashic records within them. The very Akashic records. And that's why it's like they literally pull off the scales from your eyes. Everything gets colorful. Everything gets vivid. It's a living alchemy. Living alchemy. We live within the condensation of our imagination. That's why you don't know it, but you are thinking shit into reality. You think about bad shit. Oh, I don't want to get pulled over. I don't want to get pulled over. Whoop, you pulled over. And it's happening all the time. Sometimes you don't even have to utter the words. Sometimes the thought can dance across your consciousness. And because you don't know how to control your focus, you're just led like a stray dog wherever food is. You're just led wherever the emotions sway you. You'll pull that into your reality as an experience. Entheogens, particularly plant-based substances. I'm not even getting on the DMT and the other forms of tryptamine and LSD and MDMA and that type of thing. We're just talking about plant-based You consume it as it grows. Either you eat it, you drink it in the form of a tea, you smoke it, you smurf it, whatever. Entheogens are inhabited by spirits. Okay? The same way everything that you can imagine has a spirit body to it. The grass, the trees, and the ancients, our ancestors knew it. They would talk about the wood spirits. They would talk about the water nymphs, right? Life that came out of the water. You know, we still haven't explored the depths of the Atlantic Ocean or the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, we don't even know what, there's some shit down there that is completely, it would put alien movies to shame if you saw what was down there. But they're inhabited by spirits. They are a form of technology. They're inhabited by non-physical presence of some sort. It doesn't have a body. It doesn't have 2 eyes and 2 ears or claws or feathers or hair or fur, but it is a living entity. And so the question becomes, why do we make plants and herbs illegal in this society? There's a reason behind that. They'll give you as much cigarette and drink and alcohol and coke and cocaine and crack and meth and Xanax till your heart is content. But you talk about ayahuasca and you talk about psilocybin cubensis and you talk about blue water lilies. Oh, that's Schedule 1. That's a felony to have, to possess, to sell, to hold, to have and to hold, right? But we tend to fear the mysteries hidden within our own shadow world. And I'm saying to you, I challenge you. I'm not advocating any type of drug use or anything, but I challenge you to do the shadow work. Carl Gustav Jung talks about the shadow self. And it's just the self that we will not face. Things that we've suppressed from our childhood. Things that we know about ourselves that we're afraid to deal with. It doesn't necessarily have to be dark or negative or ugly. It's just things that we don't face. I'm talking about programming your mind for higher function and experiences of the transcendent. I'm talking about venturing through a higher state of consciousness. I'm talking about dark matter and parallel universes and the holographic universe and utilizing sacred plants as plant medicine. All of you vegans and vegetarians, and you have your wheatgrass, you have your green smoothie, but you have not tapped into the mysteries of the mushroom or of the ayahuasca. You have not tapped into the holy of holies to really pull some shit out of your subconscious and out of the dark recesses of your shadow self. Because understand, to reach your full capacity, not only do you have to improve upon your talents and skills and abilities of what we see and what you know, but you have to improve upon that which you choose not to show, that which your shadow self. You got to work with that. You have to get to the root of that. I'm talking about time travel and astral projection and experiencing the light body and moving the mind light years away. Because understand, time is indeed an illusion, a social construct. And for those of you who are super, super, super skeptical and logical, and you're like, I'm not into all of that hocus pocus shit. Understand, this is for you. The CIA funded remote viewing that deals with psychic phenomenon, if you don't understand where I'm going with this. But the CIA funded remote viewing and ESP experiments for more than 20 years, and they're still doing it. The CIA funded psychic experiments. Oh yeah. And research project Grill Flame. Google that. Project Grill Flame. This whole experiment was only one episode in an interesting research program that was run by the Defense Intelligence Agency and CIA from 1972 until about 1996. Declassified. We don't even know about the shit they working on now. Understand, when you see the technologies that you see today, the solar technology, electric vehicles, the servers and internet and nanotechnology, this shit that they show you is old. The stuff that they have not declassified is probably 50 to 75 years ahead of where you are today. Closely guarded secrets. And so projects known as Grill Flame, another one is Project Sunstreak. Yeah, Google that. Project Sunstreak. And then they had Project Stargate. I've talked about that in a previous podcast. They ventured a cycle of parapsychological phenomena because they have been hip to what the fuck is going on for a long time. Y'all just late to the party. And they really are interested with remote viewing. And there were unacknowledged viewers who participated in this quest for, intelligence, which had a range of security concerns. They were looking for nuclear weapons. The U.S. is always, because the U.S. is the bully, so they want to make sure nobody else is flexing their muscle just in case, right? And there's reasons for that. There are reasons for that, because the U.S. is the new Rome. The U.S. is the new Greece. It's the new Roman Empire. The New World Order is all about the new Roman Empire. But needless to say, before you die, before you take your last dying breath, you have got to experience some form of entheogen. I won't dwell on my experience because that's not what's important. But needless to say, my mind is changed. I'm transformed. And your mind's eye is, when you're consuming entheogens, your mind is garbled and you're dealing with complex equations and proofs and logical dead ends, and it'll do so for like 4, 5, 6, even 10 hours, just depending, possibly longer. But you're diving through bottomless fractals and honeycombs, and you're scaling lattices and gratings as tall as mountains, and then you're tracing the filigrees and fretwork of the relief of time, and you're plucking noise out of thin air. You're smelling colors, and you're seeing light waves, and you spreading the sonic detritus over your person like some strange sort of salve, and you look down at your hands only to see how they've melted to the floor in these small fleshy puddles. I was seeing objects spinning that don't spin. They're not supposed to spin, and they're spinning. And I'm like, babe, you see that? They're like, it's not, you tripping. But I say this to say, stay with me. I say this to say, researchers have recently discovered that new genes in the central nervous system turn themselves on when an organism is placed or places itself in a new situation. So in other words, these genes, you have genes that code for new proteins. And these proteins are the building blocks for new structures in the brain. We're talking about serotonin. We're talking about tryptamine. We're talking about working on the pleasure centers. We're talking about forming new patterns and circuits and pathways in the mind. And this means that a lot of you is still nascent in the most physical of senses, right? And a lot of you will not be called forth by stasis. So you have to say something or go somewhere or do things to get it turned on. In other words, it's deeper than prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation are powerful in their own right, but they will only take you but so far. When you start to operate and work with the entheogens, it's like you get a superpower. You turn things on in the mind. You turn genes on. You can cure depression. You could reach all of your most furthest, far-reaching goals. But you gotta turn something on. You've gotta do something different. And the reality is that there is no such thing as luck or destiny. Every consequence is the reflection of our choices. The Prophet Muhammad wrote, the greatest jihad is to battle your own soul, to fight the evil within yourself. Deal with the shadow self. You gotta do the shadow work. It's gotta be done. Everybody is worrying about, Donald Trump or, the liberals, the Republicans, white supremacy, patriarchy. No, deal with your shit. Don't worry about the world. Don't worry about what Kanye is doing. Don't worry about the latest mass shooting. Deal with your shit. Deal with your shadow self. Deal with your insecurities. Sweep around your own front door. And the more each and every one of us, I'm not saying this to be insensitive, but the more each and every one of us sweep around our own front door and clean your shit up, then the family is cleaned up. The community is cleaned up. As the communities get cleaned up, the cities and the states get fixed up. And as the cities and the states get fixed up, guess what? The world starts walking upright. The worst of all possible snakes is the eternal human proclivity for evil. That means in you, within you too. All of us has dealt with or dated or been with that one person that just brings your ugly out. Just, if you dealt with them too long, you're going to end up in jail, or you're going to end up snapping somebody's fucking neck, right? That's what I'm talking about. That right there in you, that somebody can take you over the edge. That's what we're dealing with. The worst of all possible snakes is psychological, it's spiritual, it's personal, and it's internal. Again, Carl Gustav Jung, I like to deal with Jung because he's documented. Y'all respect that, He once said, until you make the unconscious conscious. Sorry, he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. It's a lot of y'all walking around, you like, the devil the devil is trying me. No, that's not the devil, boo. That's shit coming from your unconscious mind. And you haven't dealt with it. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment and especially on their children than the unlived life of the parent. Jung told us that. Carl Gustav Jung. We need to look beyond our cultural cues, our culture, to find solutions to our individual problems as well as the world's problems. Because the problem is we're using the same mind, the same mindset, the same ideas to try to solve the problems that we use with the mindset and the ideas and ideologies that started and caused the fucking problems to begin with. And so the thing is to have as rich and experience as you possibly can while you're living on this plane of existence at this time. And so this is what it boils down to. This is what this talk boils down to. There are certain things that you must tattoo onto your consciousness. There is no effort without error and shortcoming. See, the doers are going to have more issues and problems because you're doing stuff. If you don't want any shortcomings or error, don't do anything. Your being is your becoming. Your being is your becoming. The poor and stressed always die first. I know this sounds cruel. I know this sounds insensitive. But we dealing with facts. The poor and the stressed always die first and in greater numbers. They are also much more susceptible to all the non-infectious diseases, such as cancer, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, obesity. When the aristocracy catches a cold, right, as it said, the working class dies of pneumonia. Now, you could do with that what you will. You can say how unfair it is. You can beat your fist against your chest all you want. But the fact of the matter is, there are going to always be haves and have-nots. You make sure you find yourself on the end of the haves if you can control it. And I'm saying you can control it. High-level thoughts only. Going into 2019, high-level thoughts only, because your thoughts control your reality, baby. High-level thoughts only. When they want to talk to you about Kanye and they want to talk to you about Donald Trump and they want to talk about shit that won't matter 10 years from now or even 5 years from now, shit that does not affect the cost of tea in China, is not important. High-level thoughts only. Always remember the Matthew principle. And I'm going to do a talk on that in the near future. The Matthew principle deals with the biblical scripture, Matthew 25 and 29, which derive from what might be the harshest statement ever attributed to Christ. And he said, to those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken. Baby, this been happening for ages. The rich get richer. And the poor die broke. It's not about whether it's fair. It's not whether about you can change it or not. Deal with your shadow self. Without rules, we quickly become slaves to our passions. And there's nothing freeing about that. So you got to be able to discipline yourself. Aristotle and his buddies didn't tell us that we're teleological beings for nothing. We need to have targets. And so we see that happy and successful people have projects, right? And are engaged in meaningful, specific, challenging, yet doable goals. And so it's all about processes. That's why I always speak of the vision board. I'm not saying that shit for my health. You know, I know the power of vision boards. Do you? This is why I'm always talking about writing down your 101 goals. Where would you like to go? What would you like to do? What would you like to see? If you cannot be what you can't see. And that's why representation is important. If you don't see it in your mind's eye, then it's not happening. If you can't imagine yourself healthy, living the life of a multimillionaire, or, it might just be, you don't want to have to pay student loans for the rest of your life, or you don't want to have to work for somebody for the rest of your life, or it may be, you just don't want to be alone. Whatever your thing is, you have to have these targets. It might be, what you really, really want to get your shit together and get in shape. You got to write down, okay, by a certain date, I would like to lose a certain amount of weight, or I would like to gain muscle mass. And then you put your game plan into action. Those are the people that are moving ahead in this life, who are doing that. There's nothing deep and mystical about that. That's very practical. And yet, as intelligent as some of us are, we still fall short of being able to be disciplined about doing these things. But it's all about processes. Order and chaos are the yang and yin of the famous Taoist symbol, right? Two serpents, head to tail. Order is the white, masculine serpent. Chaos, its black feminine counterpart, right? The black dot in the white and the white in the black. This all indicates the possibility of transformation. Just when things seem secure, the unknown can loom unexpectedly and large. And conversely, just when everything seems lost, new order can emerge from catastrophe and chaos. And so for the Taoists, meaning is to be found on the border between the ever-entwined pair. To walk that border is to stay on the path of life. That's the divine way. And that's much better than happiness. The divine way. Ideologies are simple. They're ideas. And they're disguised as science or philosophy that purport to explain the complexity of the world and, offer remedies that will perfect it. And ideologues are people who pretend they know how to make the world a better place before they've taken care of their own chaos within. Tattoo this to your consciousness. Never listen to broke, sick people or anyone who is not demonstrating, living their so-called truths. Experience and observation over conjecture, always. Dominance hierarchies are older than trees. The part of our brain that keeps track of our position in the dominance hierarchy is exceptionally ancient, and it's fundamental. It's a master control system, and it modulates our perceptions and our emotions and our thoughts and our values and our actions, and it powerfully affects every aspect of our being, conscious and unconscious alike. This is how you deal with the shadow self. If the world you are seeing is not the world you want, it's time to examine your values. It's time to rid yourself of your current presuppositions, because you have to start to look at stuff and realize that there might be something you missed or that you don't understand. And so when you dare aspire upward, you reveal the inadequacy of the present and the promise of the future. You might be winning, but are you growing? And if you're not growing, growing might be the most important form of winning, if you ask me. In the book, The Future of the Mind, the author says talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. This world bows to genius. Somebody who can create or invent some shit that we've never even conceived of. And again, it goes back to the Entheogens. You can begin to pull things out from other dimensions and bring it into this reality. Yeah. Imagine that. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. No matter how good you are at anything, or how you rank your accomplishments, what you've done and how great you are, there is always someone out there who makes you look incompetent. There are always going to be more beautiful women. There are always going to be smarter people. guys, there are always going to be men with more money than you and more power than you, but we can't navigate without, something to aim at. And while we are in this world, we must always have something to aim at. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Deal with your shadow self. Deal with your shadow self. You got to do the shadow work. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful, amazing, incredible rest of your day. If you celebrate the holidays, happy holidays. This is a time of harvest. This is a time of gratitude. This is a time of reflection. Put aside the politics. Put aside the isms. Deal with your dark sides. Reach out. Love on your loved ones. Call your mama. Call your kids. Love on your man a little more. Love on your girl a little bit more. Do something for yourself. Thanks for listening. Peace.